am very proud of that. I'm going to get the axle and the bearings into my T140V Bonneville front wheel. If you're following the playlist, you'll have seen I've had this bike for about a year now, and I'm hoping to be riding it within the next 3 months or so, so I've been needing to pull my finger out. Just recently I've rebuilt the wheel with a powder coated hub and stainless spokes, but what I need to do is get the bearings in, get the axle in, get it on a truing stand so I can get it ready to have a tyre on it. So let's hurry up and get those bearings into this wheel. I've laid the parts out in the order that I think that they go in. We start off on this side by putting this bearing in with this cup on the outside and this cup on the inside. These are supposed to be grease retainers, but as it's a sealed bearing, don't really need to put grease in these, but I probably will. They're held in by a big circlip at the end. Then there is a dust shield that goes in, and you'll notice the bearings are slightly different, and this one goes in on this side, tightened in by the nut that goes onto the axle. Final bit is a cover that goes over this side. So you start off with that side first, and you use this to actually drift things through. So this will be interesting. Let's see how it works out. Using the Triumph workshop manual as a guide, you start off by putting in one of these grease retainers in the side with this bearing. And I'm going to use the tubes from my Vivor kit to just knock that in. We'll call that a do. Next thing to do is to actually put the bearing in. But before I do that, as much as it's not really going to need it, I am going to put some grease onto there, on the back side of this sealed bearing. So in with the bearing next. It's looking good. Now what I'm looking to do is there is a groove in here which the circlip goes into. I don't really want to go too far beyond that. Next thing to go in is this other retainer. Put some grease in that as well, even though I really don't think it needs it. Oops. You always do get mucky, don't you? And I just want to get so I can see the groove. Now what I need to do is to put in this circlip just to the groove. Are we in? I think we are. Make sure it's nicely, yeah. And then I'm going to turn it over and drive it so that the bearing is up against that circlip. Just put a towel over here so that it doesn't damage my hub. And the recommendation is you use this, put it through the middle, and you drive it down against the circlip. So let's see how we do with that. Let's see how we've done. Looks good to me. So the next thing is to put the axle in the right way around and to put this dust shield in. So we just need to tap this down a bit. Okay, so it's against the dust shield. Just check everything on the other side still looks okay. It does. And the next thing is we put this bearing in. So let's go and get the right tube for that one. Despite being pretty much unnecessary, I am going to put some grease in here. Yeah, I know some people will throw their hands up in horror, but it can't do any harm. Clean my hand off. bearing. Make sure it's square, which it isn't yet. There we go. Nice size tube for this one. And seems to have stopped there, so I'm going to guess that I'm at the right part now. Sounds right to me. So the next thing to go in is this, but I'll just put a little bit more grease on this side of it. And we'll pop that in, and it is a standard right hand thread. Clean my hands up and get the correct tool. Let's make sure we don't cross thread this, whatever we do. There we go. Yeah, I think we're started, so we might as well finish. Don't need to go mad, just tight enough to keep it there. And the final thing is we need to put that on and make sure we tighten it down to the right torque. I found that I had to tap the axle through a little bit from that side so that I've got enough room on this to actually tighten it down. Now I've got the axle in, I can get it on the truing stand, and typically, just like with the rear wheel, it didn't fit because of the axle. So what I had to do was one of these stays that comes up, I've drilled a couple of holes so I can just move it in so I can actually run it on its own axle. So let's see how true I got it in the first place, and then we'll get it even truer. Definitely got a bit of a wiggle on, but not too horrific. And looking at it this way, again not too horrific. Just a quick explanation of what I'm actually trying to do. With egg-shaped, what I mean by that is it sticks out, say, further there than it does on that side as you rotate it. You might be using a pointer to see how far it is and judging it by eye, or using a DTI. But say that's the bit that's the furthest out. What I'll do is that's furthest out, so it needs pulling back in. So I'll move it so it's away from me, and I will slightly slacken all the opposite spokes. And when I say slightly, I'm talking about maybe a quarter of a turn, maybe not even that much. And as I get further around, probably only a small arc, a little bit less and a little bit less. And then I'll put it this way around and I'll do the opposite. I'll tighten all of these spokes just a little bit, by similar to what I did on the other side. Then I'll test it again, either using a pointer and judging it by eye, or using the DTI. So I do that a few times and I should get it running reasonably true. And again, you've got to look at what the spec is for the wheel to make sure you've got it right. Now the next thing is, it may be wobbling from side to side. And what you're doing here is you're trying to find where's the worst bit, where is it running furthest out. Say it was there and it's running furthest out. I'd find the worst part of it and I'd mark it, and usually, you know, it moves in, and this bit's only 1 millimetre out, that one's 3 millimetres out. So find the middle point and then go to about where it's only 1 millimetre out, and on the side that's pulling the rim this way, so that means the spokes that are going from the hub on this side, yeah, at the worst point I'd slacken it off slightly, and again working round to my 1 mil or 2 mil marks, a little bit less, a little bit less, a little bit less, work my way around so I've slackened this side because I'm trying to pull it that way. Then I go on the other side and I tighten them in the same way. From the middle, I tighten it the most, get the pointer or get the DTI, and again test it. You might find you've solved that bit or you've moved it across, but now it's this piece that does, and it's that way. So this time, what I would do is I'd find the point where it's the furthest that way. I would slacken the ones on this side, having marked the rim again for the worst part and the extent I want to go, slacken it and then tighten it so that it pulls it in the direction you want it to go. And you keep doing that until you've got it to where a pointer or the DTI is saying that it's true. I've got it pretty centered on the 2, so let's see how this works out. Now a lot of it at the moment has been less than a millimetre, however, there you can see it shoots off. So overall there is about 3 mil, and it does look like that part of the wheel here is the furthest this way. It can be hard to get your head around which way you want to move it. What I've done is I've looked to get to the lowest measurement, and I've put a marker onto there. That's the middle of the lowest measurement, and I'm going to adjust it to see if I can push it towards the 2. So that's where it gets to the 2 that way, and that's where it gets to the 2 this way. Now that's this bit that I'm going to adjust. Now which way do I adjust it? Well, if you look at the end of that, can you see how it comes out and goes in? So obviously the wheel is further that way at that point. So I'm going to slacken on the other side and tighten on this side to pull it across. So that's what I'll do now. And importantly, you do need to carefully think which ways tighten, which ways undo. I've done about 5 rounds of centering, finding the extent, slackening on one side, tightening on the other, and this is where I'm at now. So I've got the DTI set on the 2, and it's the smaller needle we're interested in. Now I'd say that that was within 0.5 mil, and I may have a bit more of a go at it, but that's as good as I think I'm going to get it. So what I will do now is I will check every nipple to make sure that they're still tight. I'll ping all of the spokes to make sure they sound tight, and then I'll check it again, and if it's gone out, then it's gone out and I'll start again. If not, then I'm happy with the side to side. Once I've done that, I'll check whether it's egg shaped again. But hey, I'm very pleased with 0.5 mil. I tightened all the spokes, checked them, they all ding the same, but I couldn't help myself. I had another look at it and I had another little bit of a fiddle, but let's see where we're at. So I'm looking at the deflection on the small needle. I can only say, and you may dispute this in the comments, I am very proud of that. That's the bearings in, that's the wheel trued, and I'm even happy with how it dings. So all I need now is a rim tape and a tyre on this, same on the rear, and then I need to make sure I've got the frame ready for it to all go in. That will probably be next. So why not subscribe and see what happens? See if these wheels do make it onto this bike.